There is a petition on change.org asking people to raise their voices to help free a teenage boy in Israeli prison, Ahmed Manasera. He has been there for over 6 months in solitary confinement. To talk to us today about the situation, we have with us Razan Quran. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you for having me, Kathy.
Thank you for joining us. I understand that Ahmed Manasera was 13 years old, arrested 6 years ago for being involved in a stabbing which he probably didn't take part of. He's been in Israeli prison ever since, in solitary for the last 6 months, which is a cruel and unusual punishment for anyone, let alone a teenage boy. Tell us how his case came to your attention.
Yes, well, the campaign was launched by the Palestine Global Mental Health Network. The Global Palestine Mental Health Network is a coalition of psychologists, social workers, scholars in the psychology and social work fields, coming across from Israeli colonial fragmented Palestine to bring us together to work together, because we understand that a main force of Israeli oppression of Palestinians is their psychological warfare tactics, and that a coloniality of 74 years and with a British mandate before it leaves its traces. In terms of how we came
Manasera.
Yeah, sorry, it's just important for me to also define our locality and positioning. So Ahmed Manasera was known by every Palestinian on the streets. In October 2015, it was etched and carved into our memory, seeing this 13-year-old child laying in a pool of his own blood, having settlers and soldiers run him over and then spew very, very violent, abusive language at him, to then see him being dragged and handcuffed to a hospital bed, knowing that he had sustained a fractured skull and other wounds, and that he was not given the kind of immediate medical treatment and care he needed. He was then separated from his family for a year, left in a center, isolated. At this point, what they were doing was they were holding Ahmed until he reaches the legal age of conviction in Israel for this child, which is at 14 years old. So for a whole year, they altered this very democratic state, as the West tends to describe Israel, withheld and mismanaged its own legislative processes. And this is something that continues to occur for Palestinians. Ahmed's case became emboldened within all of us. We were all galvanized to jump and support. I would say that Dr. Nadira Shalhoub-Kevorkian, Professor also Rana Nashashibi, followed up with the case, went to go meet with the family, which is part of our usual practice, is to go visit the families of those injured, of those wrongfully detained, and to show support. And increasingly, when we saw that Israel was trying to silence and conceal what they're doing to Ahmed, we realized it was time for us to bring Ahmed's story to the international community.
So has the petition been ongoing for 6 years? I'm a little uncertain.
No. So the petition was only released in March of 2022, and our network itself was established in 2019, although we existed in an informal manner before then. And really the reason we launched it at this time was that Ahmed had completed 2/3 of his sentencing, of what he was sentenced to complete. And it was very important for us to say that he should be eligible to be released now, given that he has even completed 2/3 of a wrongful conviction, and has been sustained in a very, very dire health condition. He's been held in a solitary confinement. As you noted, Kathy, the most recent one is 6 months. International law stipulates that anything over 15 days of solitary confinement is warranted as torture, and that is for adults. So imagine what it is like for a child to have consistently, systematically been placed in isolated isolating, alienating conditions, which is
I do want to ask you a bit more about solitary confinement and its effect on the mind and body, but I just want to circle back to something that you just said. Wrongfully convicted was a phrase you used. If he's been wrongfully convicted, and I believe an Israeli court has verified that, how is it that they are able to still hold him in prison?
I would say that that's what settler colonialism is. Settler colonialism requires that it brings forth its own logics. And oftentimes we as psychologists, we call to what we call this very deranged logics because they do not make sense. They only make sense in a world and a system that says, let us extract, let us capitalize on others' suffering, let us steal land, let us dispossess, let us alienate people from their rituals, their religion, their practice, their sense of belonging. And so in this way, we also know, and Dr. Nader Shalhoub-Kevorkian actually made the term unchilding, which hopefully many of you have seen as one of the hashtags we have associated with the petition. What unchilding represents is a systematic at an infrastructural level of debilitating and unchilding Palestinian children. Childhood is a very, very pivotal part of all of our development. And in it, we really come to understand and learn a lot about the world and also about ourselves. And what happens and what we see has happened with Ahmed and countless other Palestinian children is that Israel pulls a Palestinian child and deems them a criminal. In so doing, they are violating the rights of children and they are dehumanizing this child and unchilding him, rendering him not worthy of, or deserving of what we would normally see children deserve.
Do you know why he was put into solitary? 6 months is a very long time.
Yeah, 6 months is a very long time. Well, in the end, I can only more so describe at a macro level why Israel utilizes solitary confinement. But to say in specific with Ahmed's case, that it would be more assumptive. So I would stick to the more macro. Solitary confinement is a form of torture. What solitary confinement is it is an attempt to break the will and the dignity of the political prisoner. So we know that the Palestinian people are very dignified people, and that most of the calls that they always make pertains to their human rights, that despite 74 years of being dehumanized, they insist on being treated the way they know they deserve to be treated. When you go ahead and you stick a political prisoner into solitary confinement, what you're doing is you're rendering them with no access to sunlight, no access to human interaction. One is left with the kind of torture that preceded even being placed into the solitary confinement, and all of the threats that the Israeli soldiers and interrogators had just fed into you. So things of saying, if you do not right now claim the following statement that we're saying that you've done, if you do not sign along to this, then we're going to harm your family members, we're going to demolish your home. All of these collective punishment methods that we've seen time and time again Israel utilizes. So it's a way to both destabilize the individual and over the long term to debilitate the Palestinian collective psyche. So
I'm going to interrupt you, sorry, but we're almost out of time and I do want to get back to the petition, but just briefly, solitary confinement is known to create physical and mental health problems, bone fractures, vision loss, anxiety, and hallucination. So you've launched a petition to get him released from this. How can a petition do that?
Well, I will like to start with an optimistic signaling here. Our petition has been working, and the way we know that is the court hearing that was scheduled to present the case to say that Ahmed should be released now, and we demand his immediate freedom because he cannot remain in incarceration given the ill treatment and how it's exasperating his health condition. Israeli courts right away went and postponed it. Because the petition was getting a lot of media coverage, because all of you watching today were supporting through your actions, through your presence on social media and in the mosque and on the streets, talking about this, Israel did a very common method, which is to delay and postpone, hoping that the attention will be dissuaded, Ahmed will be forgotten about, and then they could continue their brutally violent tactics of policing and convictions. So we really know that our petition is one way that we are elevating the call to free Ahmed. It's one way of making sure not only is the Palestinian know about Ahmed, but the whole world and the Muslim world as well.
Unfortunately, we're out of time. We'll try to put the link to the petition in the description box. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching Canadian Muslim News. If you like what we do, please share, like, and subscribe. Stay safe and God bless.